Hi there, it's Thursday and it is time for my next live. So this is Tanya Jooste. I am doing my live on my Botanically page today, Alchemy of Soothing Botanic Ingredients. And it's a fun one because I'm continuing with digestive support, which is one of my favorite subjects out there. But basically, there is a lot to do with essential oils. And a lot of it is really fun, like today, where we are going to cook with essential oils. So I just want to quickly see, there's a new function here. There we go. Hopefully people start checking in now. There we go. There's an additional button on Facebook now. Luckily I saw that. I'm just going to wave at everyone as they come in. Brilliant. Thank you so much. So today we're going to do a fun one, all right? And those of you that know me really well know that I very rarely go out to restaurants because I'm one of those unlucky people that has got real hectic food sensitivities. But more than that, I really actually do enjoy cooking a lot. I bake a lot and I cook a lot, and it's really beneficial when you're someone who's dealing with a lot of food sensitivities, because that gives you your own control. So you can support your digestive function, number one, because you know what you're putting into your own food, all right? And it's such an amazing journey when you start discovering different flavors and different textures. That's going to be supportive to your body, number one, because food is medicine, all right? And today we're going to teach you a little bit about some of the essential oils and why we would want to use essential oils in cooking. I mean, who would want to do that? I'm just going to check. Catherine, you've logged in. Hello. Karen, welcome. And Nicolene, fantastic. Hello. Thank you guys for joining in. It's going to be a fun one. I've got some things to show you, and I'm also going to teach you which are my favorite oils to cook with. Okay, so let's get to the nitty-gritty of this. Why would anyone want to cook with essential oils? Well, let me tell you, it's an absolutely beautiful world undiscovered. Oh, I even have my friend Yolani that's just checked in. Hello, welcome. I'm just going to wave at her as well. All right, so the reason we would like to use essential oils in cooking or bake with it, for instance, is because we want to enhance flavor. Now, let's just think about that for a second. Remember, essential oils are aromatic compounds, right? And one of my favorite chefs out there is also a scientist, self-trained, surprise, but a self-trained scientist who is a couple of Michelin star chef, and his name is Heston Blumenthal. And there's several of these cooking programs where it's really amazing, but where you can see that if your nose is closed or when you have no smell, you also, for some of these foods, can't taste the foods because we need the smell to associate it with the taste molecules, okay? And that is why smelling something beautifully aromatic while cooking is a really good thing. And I know there's a lot of chefs out there who don't like eating their own food, not because it's not tasty, but if you've been cooking for 2 to 3 hours and you're permanently in that genre where you're smelling these beautiful aromatic compounds, remember how quickly it works, right? They travel up your nasal passage, go past those olfactory nerve sensors, and basically from there, the messages get sent to the brain, the limbic brain, which accesses memory, and then it's going to give you either a really fond memory of spiced cookies in my grandmother's kitchen when I was small, or I don't know, a really amazing and tangy lemonade that was made with real lemon juice. Okay, so there's so many of these beautiful compounds that does access the memory, but is also going to have a supporting benefit on either your mood or your digestive system. Okay, and all your organs on the inside as well. So the reason we like to use essential oils is because they can enhance flavor, they can provide the body with supporting health benefits, and also really convenient and safe. And on that last one, just remember, please, there are a lot of essential oil brands out there that are safe, that do say that they're food supplements, and then there are those that are not. If that label says not for internal use, please remember it says that the essential oil has not been tested roughly or rigorously enough to ensure that it's not going to cause you harm. Okay, so please always look out for a bottle like this one. It says ingredients, coriander oil to use for food flavoring, and it says caution, use only diluted and take no more than 1 drop per day. So it's actually got the label on there stating to you the dilutions that you need to use and also how much of it to use. Okay, and if your favorite essential oil bottle doesn't actually have that on there, please do not be using that essential oil in your cooking. And another thing that I need to remind you about, because essential oils are really potent, in other words, very concentrated, yes, you need the teeniest, tiniest amount to be able to get that flavor in there. And if you're going to overuse it, You're going to chuck your food in the bin, I can promise you. I've done that before, and we'll get to that example in a couple of minutes. All right, so the essential oils, there's one of my favorite other authors, Dr. Eric Zielinski. He talks quite a lot about essential oils, and he even has a book that has come out called The Essential Oil Diet. So basically, this is where you start adding essential oils into your daily routine. Very teeny tiny amounts, and you've got to have a certified pure therapeutic grade oil that says it's a food supplement, and then you can start using it in your culinary dishes. So things that we need to consider. Okay, number one. You can get a lot of internal benefits from essential oils when you're using them, but in very teeny tiny amounts, and actually when you use them at a too large concentration, they can have a toxic effect. So please remember, you've got to use according to the instructions on the label. They are there for a reason. They've been scientifically tested to show that this is the maximum dose. Okay, so don't go over that. And there's also the internal benefits that I'm talking about here is related to calming and soothing of the gut system, or even to detoxifying and helping your body to detox naturally. All right, so let's look at the groups of oils together before we get into some individual ones, and then also comparing and what my favorite ones are to cook with. But basically, always remember that not all plants are edible on earth, and not all essential oils are edible either. Number one, you first need to find a company which has tested their oils and has said that it's food grade and you can use it as a food supplement. First rule. Second rule, do not consume the oils if the plants are going to be poisonous, because they are from the plants. Okay, this just makes common sense. So oils to avoid while cooking. Things like arbor vitae, cypress, eucalyptus, wintergreen, cedarwood, Douglas fir, and spikenard. Those are just some of the oils that you should not be consuming internally. Okay, they're not meant for internal consumption. The ones we're looking for are the ones that we are generally going to regard as food. So thinking oils like ginger and lemongrass and all the citrus oils and, all the things that we generally tend to eat from plants already, those are usually the essential oils, if it is a food grade essential oil, that you can then use in your cooking and your baking. Okay, so let's not be silly about it. So best practices, always just remember that these are aromatic compounds, and heat, high heat especially, is going to affect the chemical structure of some of these constituents, and you may lose the therapeutic benefit. So it's always a good idea when you're going to be cooking or baking to rather add at the end. All right, and I'll give you some examples of how to do that. There was, however, a study done where they've tested oregano essential oil to see what was remaining in pasta. So they boiled the pasta and they baked the pasta, and the chemical constituents that remained actually remained more intact during the boiling process compared to the baking process. Okay, but at least some of these essential oils and the chemical constituents were still in there. All right, there we go. Oh, Daniel's just saying, great to be back on your live. Yes, Daniel from the UK. Why have you not been on my lives for a while? Well, I'm going to give there's an extra little competition today with a free prize. So those of you that stay right until the end, please stay right until the end, because you'll get something, freebies. And everyone loves a freebie. Okay, so the cooking, remember, if you are going to be using heat, you've got to take the process of what you're preparing into consideration. All right, so let's go start looking at groups of oils, because some of them are really strong, and you are going to need the toothpick method. And that's literally where you take a toothpick and you open a bottle of essential oil, and the toothpick just touches that rim there on the inside, and you stir that through food, okay? Because some of these oils are that strong, and that one is strong, that's coriander. I find that the cilantros, corianders, and the oreganos are so severely potent that you actually cannot do one drop in a dish for 4 people. It is just way too strong. All right, so there, definitely the toothpick method, okay? Some of the essential oils are a little bit more docile, I'd say. And this is where you can add 1 drop to your cooking. Oh, I can see lots of hearts coming in. I just didn't see who that was from. Ha ha! No, the heart stopped. Okay, sorry. I wanted to mention your name, but I didn't see who they were coming from. It might have been Mariette, actually, now that I look at it. Hello, Mariette. So the essential oils that are in the category where you can add 1 drop are a little bit more calmer. So we're going to talk about things like rosemary, for instance. That's a really good one to put into that category. And then the citrus oils are not as potent because they're not concentrated through the steam distillation method, right? They use the cold expression of the citrus peel to get the essential oils. So they are less potent when compared to some of the other herbs and oils. Okay, so for those ones, you can add more essential oil drops than you would, for instance, for an oregano. And here is where my example is going to come out. I once used a dish, or I made a dish between, and I think it was depending on portion size, I guess, because I don't know how much people eat, but it was a dish for 4 to 6 people, and I added 1 drop of coriander, and it was actually so overpowering that we couldn't eat the food. So please, coriander, cilantro, oregano, toothpick method. Okay, don't follow or don't make the same mistake I did. I'm like, oh, this is fine, it'll be delicious. It was too strong. Okay, all right. So those groups of oils. So the citrus, as I said, they are not as strong, so you can use slightly more. And the oils that are commonly used in cooking and baking are bergamot, grapefruit, lemon, lime, tangerine, and wild orange. And it's very useful in beverages, number one, in yogurts, to flavored yogurt, or in dips and salsas, and especially those recipes where it requires zest. Because what is a citrus essential oil? It's the aromatics from the zest. Now let's just quickly compare with what you get on the market and what you get on the shelves to using an essential oil, because it's all about the ratios. Remember about the potency. So I used to buy from a very regular baking shop just the normal essences that you get. And then at some stage, because of my food safety background, I started asking them, because I had so many food sensitivities, and I was actually at a stage baking for a lot of people who had very many food ingredient sensitivities because of health challenges that they were facing. And I needed to know what it was that I was putting into the cooking. And I kept on asking them for certificate of analysis or maybe an ingredient list, and they just were never coming to the party to show me what was in there. And I think the main reason for that is, even though it is labeling legislation requires that every single ingredient is listed, especially if it's a food item, all of those compounds in that solution were man-made. They were made in a lab, okay? So they were not the real flavorings, all right? The real flavorings do cost more. So then I went to a higher grade, so we call it more pure sort of food extract. I'm going to give you an example here. This is an orange food extract, and what they basically say, this is made of ethanol, all right? So it's an alcohol base, and then natural oil of orange with water. Very dilute actually, although a lot stronger than the essences that you're going to buy on the shelf that is man-made, all right? But what they say here is that 5 milliliter orange extract equals 60 milliliter orange juice, and that'll be the flavor. All right, let's just also talk about that. When your recipe calls to use a lemon or an orange juice, you also need the liquid component with it, okay? Because 60 mils is that's 4 tablespoons, that's a quarter cup. That's quite a lot of juice. So if you're going to take that out and just replace with the essential oil, you're going to have to add liquid back into the recipe. Otherwise, your ratios are going to be all wrong, okay? And it's probably going to flop. So 1 teaspoon of this extract, sorry, that was a bit of a is equals to 60 ml, so a quarter cup of orange juice equals to 1 teaspoon of orange zest. And let me just compare to you what that would be in a very pure essential oil, 100% pure essential oil. When you are calling for 1 teaspoon of orange extract, 1 drop of potent essential oil is the exact equivalent of that amount of zest and flavor, okay? And that is how amazing essential oils can be. All right, so just 1 little drop of this essential oil equals the same amount of flavor that you'll find in a teaspoon of this. Now remember the aromatic compounds, so they are going to diffuse, okay? So ideally, you can bake with them, but then you're going to need more because they are going to evaporate in the oven. But it's probably more ideal to add it to whatever you're adding afterwards cold. So if you're going to be putting an icing, for instance, on cupcakes, then you can add, if you're making lemon poppy seed cupcakes, for instance, you could add some of the lemon essential oils to the icing, and then that way flavor the essential oil, or the essential oil will flavor the icing, and it'll have the detoxing therapeutic benefit, except now there's sugar in there. I'm not a fan of sugar for good gut health, but anyway, there's a thought for flavoring your icings, okay? And usually the beverage side is amazing as well. So here, think things like bergamot tea, which is all grey tea. And you don't necessarily have to put a whole drop in your tea because it's very potent, especially if you're using a bergamot essential oil that is therapeutic grade and really potent and strong. Instead, take a glass jar, put like 2 or 3 drops of bergamot right at the bottom of the glass jar, fill it with tea bags, and you can use normal black Ceylon tea bags, because a lot of the bergamot teas out there are actually not from the bergamot plant. They're literally black tea, Ceylon tea that's been flavored with bergamot, although we have no idea where they're getting it from and whether it's man-made or whether it's actually from the plant. So 3 drops of the bergamot essential oil right at the bottom of the glass jar, fill it with tea bags, and put on a very tight-fitting lid. Instant all grey tea. And remember, what does bergamot do? It's very relaxing and very calming. Okay, so there you're getting the mood benefit from using the essential oil there in a drink. Okay, and then the next one we're going to go to is spices. So here we're thinking things like black pepper, cassia, cinnamon, coriander, ginger, and fennel. Very useful, enhancing natural flavors of meat or vegetable dishes, as well as marinades. You can also use it in sweet and savory dishes. So you can see that spices are really versatile, especially when you're going to be cooking. Okay, and I've made some vegan, gluten-free hot cross buns. I know that's like a major feat, but they work and they are incredibly tasty, especially when you start using the essential oils instead of the powdered format. Because let's face it, all the spices we get in South Africa, most of them are imported. A lot of them are irradiated. They lose their flavor over time. The lids are not tight fitting. So if you can then supplement the dried spice with an essential oil, it's going to be a really, really tasty flavor combination. So herbs, we're thinking about things like basil, cilantro, and cilantro, remember, is the leafy part of the coriander plant. So the cilantro and the coriander essential oils come from two different parts of the plant, so they're going to have completely different flavors. And I can actually tell you that the cilantro and the coriander, specifically from my brand, are completely different. And for both of them, they are more floral. So when your coriander has already started flowering, it's got a lot more flowery sort of scent to it. So also remember that when you're using an essential oil, the exact profile you would get from using the fresh herbs and the plant in your cooking is going to be completely different to what you're getting in the essential oil, because not all the components in the whole plant are aromatic, and it's only the aromatic components that are actually in the essential oil. So it might change the flavor profile slightly, okay? And the herbs are really good in substituting for fresh or dry herbs. Some new people coming in, I'm just going to wave at you as you're coming in. Remember, the replay is going to be available on my YouTube channel afterwards as well, and in the live feed of this of my page. And you can use the herbs very specifically. The people in Italy really love flavoring their foods with essential oils and herbs. Very good in soups and breads and pastas and potatoes. Okay. Then the florals, very calming, makes you feel really pretty about life. So here we're thinking lavender and geranium, for instance, and they really are useful in upping the flavor of citrus. So for instance, think about a lemon rose scented icing, or adding it again to teas. An Earl Grey tea, which is bergamot, works really well, for instance, with macaroons, where the sweet is coming in, and you've got for instance, a white chocolate. Say you're using a white chocolate, it's got that caramelly kind of taste. And then if you add the bergamot to that, you've got instant Earl Grey macarons, which is one of my favorites, by the way. But it's got that whole tea flavor going with the beautiful scent of the bergamot, which is citrusy and florally at the same time. Okay. Mints, obviously things like peppermint and spearmint, they are very good in beverages and desserts. No guesses there. Okay, and you can also, of course, make a mint sauce for lamb on Christmas Day. All right, so those are sort of the groups of essential oils together. And if we then go to one of my really favorite authors, he's like a public researcher and he's not very biased against any essential oil brand as such. I just really like him because he looks at everything from a scientific-based view and with actual concrete results. Okay, it's not hearsay, it's not something that he found on the internet. So these are the oils he suggests that are really great to include in recipes, and this comes straight from his gut health guide. So lavender, because lavender is linked with relaxing, calming, and anti-anxiety properties. So if you're going to be using lavender, and this is really especially good in using in teas or in desserts, then you're going to get the emotional support together with the calming benefits and the anti-inflammatory benefits. Peppermint obviously is one of his favorites because it's amazingly energizing. Try drinking a peppermint tea in the afternoon instead of that 6 or 7 cup of coffee, okay? And it's also going to go a long way in opening up your airways because it is a decongestant, okay? And that's part of the revitalizing and the uplifting effect. Citrus, well, we can use citrus anywhere, guys. We can use it in sweet or in savory, all right? Just remember, if you are going to be doing a cooking, so a curry, for instance, then it's going to be hot. So then you're not going to start putting the essential oils right at the start. You're going to add them right at the end when the stove has already been switched off so that you don't lose the aromatic compounds and that it's actually still inside the food. Bergamot, he likes bergamot as well. Oh, sorry, I didn't say why we use the citrus. Remember, the citrus is linked to improving glutathione production in your body, so very high antioxidant content, okay? Bergamot is a cold pressed citrus oil as well, and it's associated with relieving occasional feelings of anxiety. So that's why it's in Earl Grey tea. Really, let's have tea. Let's have Earl Grey tea, really calming, okay? Cinnamon, very good for sweet and savory dishes. It's got very nice antibacterial or antimicrobial benefits as well as antioxidant benefits, especially if we're going to be cooking with it. Cardamom, found in a lot of cuisines. Beautiful. Yo, the flavor. I love the smell of cardamom. Okay. And sometimes it catches my nose a little bit, and it's sort of, I become a little bit congested, but I still love the flavor. So then I just add peppermint to it to open up the airways again. But cardamom is really good for digestive support, as well as when you're feeling a little bit queasy. Okay. And then ginger. Very good for gut health. We all know the amazing benefits of ginger, okay, because of its antimicrobial benefits, but it's also really good in that making, when you feel a little bit of queasy, and it's included in a lot of different cuisines because of the digestive support that you get from ginger. Thyme, very good antimicrobial properties, and it's also, for that very same reason, used to improve food safety in foods. And rosemary as well. I actually know of a organic sausage producer in South Africa that doesn't use preservatives like we would get over the counter that causes gut health issues because it attacks your gut bacteria. They use a rosemary essential oil or a rosemary hydrolat, which is the watery part of when you make an essential oil. They use that as the preservative in their sausages. Okay, really amazing. And then coriander and cilantro. So these two are really good with digestive benefits. All right. So then let's go over to my favorites, because I use essential oils quite often in my cooking because I love baking and I love cooking. Okay. And I really like a very high flavor profile, because I don't eat large quantities of food. So whatever I do eat, I want those to be really tasty bites. Otherwise, I'm wasting my time. I mean, what was the point of cooking and what is the point of eating? Okay. So here, quality is definitely on the top of my list versus quantity. So bergamot is really amazing. As I said, I love Earl Grey tea macarons, so that's really good in the icing. So no, not in the shells while it's baking, because then it's going to just diffuse out of the shells. I add it to the icing afterwards, or whatever it is that you're using for the filling on the inside of the macarons. For the same reason, I also really love lemon, because lemon is a really good one in essential oil in icing of cupcakes and that kind of thing. But more than that, I use lemon in a lot of my savory dishes as well. So when I'm, for instance, making a pesto, I'm going to talk about some of the herb oils now in a second, but with pestos, a lot of pestos sort of lose their color, and it goes from the green to the sort of more brown tint. So I tend to add one, if I'm making like a nice large size pesto, because the citrus oils are less potent, I add 2 to 3 drops of a lemon essential oil together with the olive oil, because I always dilute with carrier. So depending on whether it's a savory or a sweet, it depends which oil you're going to be using or what you're going to be diluting that essential oil with. But when I'm making a pesto, 2 to 3 drops of the lemon essential oil when it's a food grade supplement oil, then you can add that into your pesto, and it's going to help keep that nice green color, and it gives that zing. Okay, it's really amazing zing, because we don't always have lemon trees in our organic gardens. So for those instances, I would then prefer to use the lemon essential oil. Okay, another favorite when I'm making pestos, because I do like to make a chimichurri or a basil pesto or a coriander pesto, or even when I don't have enough basil in my garden, you can cheat. So this cheat is because of the potency of these essential oils. So what I would then do is I can have sorrel that's growing in the garden, or even things like spinach, the younger spinach, which has not become that bitter yet. And I use a lot of different green leaves that you then find in the garden. And then you add that if your basil is too little in quantity, and you would blend that up. And then you can add 1 drop of basil essential oil, because then it's gonna mimic the rest of the basil, and then all the green stuff in there is gonna taste like basil. You're not gonna taste the spinach or the sorrel, sorrel's got a nice little tangy taste, so that's gonna be beneficial in supporting the lemon essential oil in there. But basically, there's a lot of nice green leaves growing in our garden that we can consume, which have got really nice therapeutic benefits. And then you can mask that it tastes like spinach by adding a basil essential oil, because then it's going to taste like basil pesto. Cilantro and coriander I use for the same reasons. Again, you can use these in savory as well as sweet dishes. And obviously the cilantro I use very often, which is the leafy part of the coriander plant, especially a lot in my curries and my stews and things, because obviously meat loves that. But more than that, curries also really do taste really amazing when you start adding some coriander leaves, cilantro, right at the end. And it's right at the end, stove switched off. Okay, 1 drop if you're making a dish for 6 to 8 people. If you're going to be making a dish for 4, please try the toothpick method, because if you add 1 drop and it's too much, you can't take it out. So rather just touch it with a toothpick and stir it into the food, do a taste test, and then from there you can move on and add more if you really want it stronger. Another firm favorite, because I like cooking curry, is ginger. So the ginger essential oil is incredibly potent and incredibly delicious. Okay, so that's a really good one in curries. But I also enjoy adding it to a ginger drink. So if I'm making, for instance, a turmeric latte, I like adding ginger and turmeric essential oil together with the real thing, the organic turmeric powder, because the turmeric essential oil, high in turmerones, actually increases the bioavailability of the curcumins in the turmeric powder, okay? And then you're getting this nice, very warming ginger with the turmeric essential oil together with the coconut milk, for instance, that if you're going to be making a coconut milk latte, all of those things beneficial together. And I always add a little bit of the essential oil into a little bit of coconut oil to add it to the drink if I'm using a dried coconut milk powder, all right? But always just remember, if you're a vegan, there's some good brands and there's some bad brands out there. There's a lot of coconut cream or coconut milk brands out there that actually add casein, all right? Just read the labels. Remember, Tanya is the label reader. Just make sure that what you're getting in is what you actually want in that drink, okay? And then a firm favorite, peppermint and wild orange and lavender. So I always have those next to the stove. Besides the fact that the lavender is really good in sweet things and desserts, I obviously have it next to the stove for if I do burn myself with a hot baking sheet or tray, all right? If I get it on there quickly enough, I don't burn, which is really amazing. Really skin soothing benefits. So that's there, but I also have peppermint and wild orange because peppermint in a tea or wild orange in coffee, surprisingly, really amazing combo because you don't taste the wild orange, but it's got that beautiful wild orange fragrance when you're drinking your coffee. So just add it after you've poured the coffee, put the wild orange on the top, and then you can drink it from there. But just one drop, please. You don't need more than that. But I also enjoy putting peppermint and wild orange into my baking. So I've got a really amazing recipe that I got from a friend who's also a work colleague for vegan chocolate fudge. And really good. Organic raw cacao, and it's organic nut butters and honey, and basically organic virgin cold pressed coconut oil. And then you mix all of this up, and then right at the end, before you actually set them in the molds, for an entire batch of say 12 to 15, depending on how large you make the fudge pieces, you only need 1 drop of peppermint. That is how strong this peppermint is. So I'm warning you, it's going to hit the breath away if you're going to add more than that. You only need 1 drop of peppermint, and it's going to taste like those really nice after dinner mints that I used to be able to get when I was younger and no longer can eat now. But that peppermint is just really amazing together with the chocolate and also the wild orange. The ginger you can use too, because ginger and chocolate also work really well together. So hopefully you learned a little bit more about how to use essential oils in cooking today. What I can say is just always read the label. It's got safety instructions on there. If it says not for internal use, please do not use it internally. You're going to cause so much harm in your body. A lot of these essential oils are actually really good for digestive health. Just think of the herbs that are really good in improving digestion. Okay, so it's a really nice thing to add to your cooking. And yes, make it fun, because that is why I use essential oils. The flavor that you get from 1 drop is just out of this world, and it makes just a huge difference to your cooking, whether you're cooking savory or sweet dishes. Okay, so I hope to see you all again next week. Before we log off, for those of you that stayed right until the end, freebie time. So number 1, share this video on your timeline. Okay. Number 2, go and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I will put the link to my YouTube channel in the comments of this video. And number 3, after you've done both of those, come back and in the comments of this video on my Botanically Facebook page, write the word done. Once I see that word done, obviously I'm going to check that you've subscribed to the channel if you've not already subscribed. And then I'm going to be sending you the link of a free ebook on how to cook with essential oils. All right, so those 3 things: share the video, go and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'll put the comments the link in the comments below in a couple of seconds. And then from there, once you've done both of those, come back, write the word done, and I will send you that link for a free ebook, Cooking with Essential Oils. Nice to have you all on today. See you next week. Bye-bye.